All right, today we are unpacking an absolutely incredible story from 2 Samuel. We're talking about a moment packed with grief, a shocking act of justice, and a really turbulent transfer of power. It tells us everything we need to know about the making of a king.
So, let me just ask you this. Picture your greatest rival, the person who has been making your life miserable, is suddenly gone. How do you react? Well, that's the exact spot David finds himself in, and his answer is going to define everything that comes next. So let's set the scene. A huge war has just wrapped up. David's been off fighting his own battles, and now he's back in a town called Ziklag. And for 2 long days, he's just been waiting, waiting for any word from the main front.
Then on day 3, a guy shows up. And you can tell right away, this is bad news. I mean, his clothes are ripped, he's got dust all over his head. These are the classic signs of a total disaster. He sees David and immediately just collapses on the ground to honor him.
David doesn't waste a second. He doesn't do pleasantries, he just gets straight to it. What happened? Tell me. He has to know what went down on that battlefield.
And this messenger, he just lays it all out. He spills the news he thinks David has been dying to hear. The army is shattered, and most importantly, King Saul, David's #1 enemy, is dead. And so is his son Jonathan, who happened to be David's best friend.
But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. David isn't celebrating. He's suspicious. He starts pressing for more details, and this is where the messenger makes a huge, and I mean fatal, gamble.
How do you know? You can just feel the intensity in that question, right? David is a general. He deals in facts, not rumors. He needs proof. He needs an eyewitness.
So the messenger, he eagerly launches into this story where he just happens to be the star. He claims he stumbled upon King Saul, who was mortally wounded, and actually begged him, the messenger, to put him out of his misery.
And then for the grand finale, he presents the physical proof, the king's crown and his royal armband. He lays these treasures at David's feet, thinking, I'm set for life. The new king is going to love me for this. He could not have been more wrong.
Because David's reaction is the absolute last thing this messenger, or frankly, any of us would expect. There's no relief, there's no joy, just utter devastation. This isn't just a quiet moment of sadness. This is a massive public display of grief. David, his men, they all rip their clothes, they weep, they fast for the entire day. And think about who they're mourning for. It's not just David's dear friend Jonathan. It's for his enemy Saul. It's for the whole army, for the entire nation. This is way bigger than personal feelings.
And then, just like that, David's grief hardens into judgment. He turns to the messenger, and his question is so revealing. He doesn't see a political rival being taken out. He sees someone claiming to have killed the Lord's anointed, the king that God himself put on the throne. To David, that is an unforgivable crime against God. The messenger, by boasting about what he did, sealed his own fate. David gives the order, and it's carried out immediately.
So, with justice served, David then takes all of that immense pain and channels it into something incredible. He writes one of the most famous poems of loss in history, a lament for both Saul and Jonathan.
This one line is the heart and soul of the whole thing. He says it 3 times, just hammering home the sheer shock and the scale of this tragedy. How could these giants be gone? And get this, David doesn't say a single bad word about Saul, the man who tried to kill him for years. Instead, he praises them both as this heroic unit, using these powerful images, swifter than eagles, stronger than lions, to honor them as the great warriors they were.
Now this is really fascinating. You can see 2 totally different kinds of grief here. For Saul, David calls for a public national mourning. He recognizes Saul as the king who brought wealth and prosperity. But for Jonathan, the tone shifts completely. It becomes so personal, so intimate. You can feel the deep, heartbreaking love he had for his friend.
And this is how it ends. It's not just the men who have fallen, but the weapons of war are gone too. It's a powerful way of saying that an entire era of history defined by these 2 men is now over. It's gone for good.
So, after all that drama, what does this whole episode really show us about David, the man who was literally moments away from becoming king?
It really paints a perfect picture of the kind of leader he's going to be. He shows this unshakable respect for God's authority, even over his enemies.
It shows he's capable of deep loyalty and real grief. And he's also politically brilliant. He knows you can't build a united kingdom by celebrating the murder of the last guy. He flat out refuses to take power through violence and opportunism.
And that really just leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Were David's actions just a pure, spontaneous flood of emotion and religious principle, or was this a masterclass in political strategy, a way to unify a broken country behind him? Or maybe was it a complex and brilliant mix of both? It's something worth thinking about.